Welcome back to the Bluechip Breakdown, Vols fans. I'm your host, Bull. Happy Thursday to everybody, and we just got one more day left in the week. We're going to get through this together. In today's video, we're going to be talking about our Lady Vols basketball team coaching search. We're also going to be talking about the men's basketball team transfer portal, and we're going to be briefly touching on the baseball team and where they are at currently. Obviously, we are in conference play, and the big conference tournament is coming up next month. And at the end, we're going to be talking about our football team and what players have been getting the most buzz from the media and what players do I feel like probably should be getting more buzz from the media and from the fans. But as always, please make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. All right, so let's kick it off with the Lady Vols basketball coaching search. We already know that Danny White, who is the best AD in the entire country, is going to go out and find the perfect candidate for our program. And Tennessee really is 1 and 2 with UConn as far as women's basketball programs in the entire country. It's extremely prestigious. And as you're just looking through this list, you can see just how dominant we have been historically. So I know that he is going to do his best to get us a candidate that will, be able to bring us back to that prominence, kind of the same way that he did with Coach Heupel and our football team. I do still believe that we're going to win a national championship this season. And if he goes out and makes the right hire, I would say within the next 2 to 3 seasons, we will have another one with our Lady Vols basketball team. And I can take you back, right? So story time, okay? I went to high school with Maya Moore, who at that time, a lot of people considered to be the best or, was on her way to be the best women's basketball player of all time. And I got the opportunity to run track with her. We did high jump together and, both of us, that's our secondary sport, right? So for me, I'm running track to get faster and, more explosive, get in better shape heading into spring ball. And she is pretty much just doing track to, I guess, get her vertical up and, maybe just become a little bit of a better athlete, probably get in better shape as well. But to my knowledge, all she did was the high jump. And I can just tell you our numbers, okay, were very, very close. She's at about 6 feet tall. And we also had physical education together. So I got to run some 5-on-5 with her and see the way that she was playing. You want to talk about a woman that's going out there and dunking and taking over games. She was like Jordan. I mean, literally, she was like Jordan. A lot of times in those games, I don't know how, but some of the basketball players that wasn't even in that class would come join in. So it would be me and a whole bunch of other basketball players. I'm out there getting rebounds and stuff, and I'm dishing it out to Maya. But I can just tell you, anytime that I got an opportunity to interact with her, especially at track practice, because doing that high jump, it was kind of slowed down. I mean, prior to that, whenever I'm out there doing sprints and stuff like that, let me just tell you all this. We used to run in 10 100s, 8 200s, 6 300s, and 4 400s. And that was just our warm up for practice. So it was tough for me just as a football player to be able to maintain my weight and even try to gain some weight going into that season. But it definitely paid off for me because I was able to run a 4.3 40, in that, testing period right there after spring. And I was probably in the best shape that I had been in my life up to that point. And I'm sure that it paid off for her as well. But anytime that we were doing the high jump, it was a whole lot of downtime. So I got a huge opportunity to speak to her. And as a Tennessee fan, I wanted for her to go to Tennessee because I'm seeing her whenever we're running 5-on-5 and stuff dunking. She was dunking in games. And I would go to her games and it would be people from across the country would travel and follow her wherever she went because she was that special of a player. But just in talking to her, she was like, man, look, I'm down to Tennessee and UConn. And, I would always just try to talk to her without being overbearing. Hey, look, you want to come to Tennessee because of this and that. But the one thing that I made sure to do was that every single track practice I had on some Tennessee gear, it was something, right? Like I wanted for her to see Tennessee whenever she saw me and just to keep that inside of the front part of her mind in hopes that I could help our volunteers land her. But she ends up picking UConn because she wanted to go on to be a broadcaster. She wanted to work for ESPN. And I think UConn and Syracuse at that time were like the premier schools as far as putting talent into ESPN. So that was her goal, and that's why she ended up choosing UConn. Okay, done with the story time, but just in seeing how good of an athlete she was and knowing that she could go anywhere in the entire country, and it was down between Tennessee and UConn. We've got to get back to that, to that prominence, to that dominance that we used to have back in those times. And I think that Danny White can get us back to that type of relevancy once again, okay? The same way that we looked up under Pat Summitt, who's the GOAT. I'm not saying that we are going to be able to replicate that necessarily, but I think that we can get back up into that, hey, if we offer you, we're automatically top 3 for you. So with that being said, okay, we can go out and get any coach we want in the entire country. I don't care what program they're at currently. If we want them, we can go out and get them. And I trust in Danny White to go out and find the perfect candidate for our university to do their best, right, to replicate what Coach Pat Summitt did. And we already know that she's the GOAT. I don't think that you could ever fill those shoes, but we've got to get back to a level where we are constantly competing for these national championships. And I feel like we can go out and hand select whatever coach we want in the entire country, and they're going to listen, right? Like it's not just top three with the student athletes; it's going to be top three with the coaching prospects as well. So I fully trust in what Danny White's going to be doing for us. And we've also kind of heard that hey, he might go outside of the Tennessee tree. He might try to go out and get somebody else, just some new blood. And I disagree with that. I just think that Danny White is such a good AD that he's just going to get the best candidate. It doesn't matter if you played at Tennessee before, coached at Tennessee before, any of that. Like he's just going to get the best fit for us. So I don't really buy into that whole narrative that some people are trying to throw around out there. But if it was me, okay, just, if I'm Danny White or if I'm close enough to him where I can say, hey, look, these are my suggestions. I really only have one. And again, we could probably hand select from anyone in the entire nation. But I really, really like Lindsay Gottlieb. I think that, her coming from USC, what she's done there, and maybe she can bring over Juju Watkins with her. Okay, Juju Watkins is from LA, so she might not want to leave that area, but maybe she loves Coach Gottlieb enough that she'll come along with her, and that would be huge for our Volunteers. But that would be number one on my list because she coached in the NBA with the Cleveland Cavaliers as well. And you just know that she understands basketball and she's going to be a really, really good coach. I love the way that USC's women's team has looked since she's been there. And really everywhere that she's been, she has been a winner. But outside of her, all the other candidates, what I would expect from Danny White is to go out and find somebody with a proven track record. So that kind of takes Candace Parker off of that list, even though she is a, Vol for life. She's a Tennessee great. And we know that she understands the game at a very high level. I don't know if he would necessarily select her. Okay. And it's not because she went to Tennessee, but it's because she hasn't been a coach. I think that he wants to make sure that, again, we can get back to the prominence that we all know and love and expect out of our Lady Vols. So that's just my 2 cents with that, but we will keep y'all up to date. If anything more concrete comes out at this point, I think that Danny White's keeping it so close to the vest that no one really knows. Okay, it's a whole lot of speculation. So I'm just going to throw mine into that mix and y'all can take that for what it's worth. But let's go ahead and switch gears to our basketball team and the transfer portal. And Eric Kane came out with a video earlier today, pretty much with the exact same list that I have. Okay, I got this list from VolQuest just as far as some players that Tennessee will go out and target. But I'll just tell y'all, for me, what I would love for us to go out and get is we can't go out and get another DK, but someone along those lines that can score, that can create their own shot off the dribble, and that can shoot. I think that that's huge for this team. We already know that if you come into Rick Barnes' system, you are going to learn how to play defense. You have no choice. If you can't play defense, then you can't play with us, period. So I'm not too big on that. But if we're talking about, maybe bringing in a couple of players, I would like to see somebody that is a good athlete with some length. And I want some lengthy types of players either way. Okay. I don't care what position we're going out and getting, but I feel like, that wing guy is what we're going to be definitely targeting. Somebody that can, again, create their own shots and hit shots whenever they're open and things like that. But outside of just having a good scorer, I want somebody with some good length that can play some solid defense. That's usually going to be the more athletic players. So I'm hoping that we can find a couple of players, because I do think that we need a couple. I don't know who's going to be the 4 for us next season, but losing Triple J is going to be big because, he was at about 6'6", 6'7", something like that. But he played phenomenal defense. He could go out and guard, whatever best wing player the opposing teams have. And I feel like we need somebody else like that just to replicate it. We'll probably lose a player or two in the transfer portal as well, but we've got to get better at scoring. And we definitely need some guys that are dogs that are not going to freeze up once we get to the tournament. And I just think that depth is key. If we can have a very deep team, we can keep on rotating in players. Then once we get, into the tournament at this point that we lost at this season, we'll have more bodies that we can throw in there and keep everyone fresh. But I love the youth of this team. I think that we've got a lot of players that will end up being veterans next year that will contribute a lot in, just teach these players, especially if they're new, okay, if they're transfer players or even if they're incoming freshmen. hey, look, this is the Tennessee way. This is how we play, and this is the standard. You've got to live up to this. So I feel good about it, and we did a great job with DK last season. Again, we're not probably going to find another DK, but can we find somebody that can average, I would say, at least 15 points on a consistent basis, and somebody that is not afraid to shoot those open looks in those critical moments is going to be really, really big to me. All right, now on to baseball. We just came off of a big series win versus Georgia, and I kind of joked with Braylon in our live stream before saying, man, Georgia's baseball team sucks, but they're actually pretty good. They've got the best player in the entire country right now, just as far as, the draft perspective goes. But we are going to be heading down to Alabama. Okay, we're probably already down there at this point, but tomorrow we will be facing off against Auburn, okay? And we've got another 3-game series we've got to close out and do a really good job in, being able to win that series as well, because the SEC tournament is coming up next month. We want to put ourselves in a really good position to be able to win that and go on to the College World Series. And our Volunteers are currently ranked number 4 nationally, according to the NCAA. So that's really big. And we are ranked number 6 in the entire country with batting average with 332 for the team. And we are ranked number 2 as far as home runs go with 73. We are behind our hated rivals in Georgia. And we are 13th as far as hits go with 321. We are number 2 as far as runs go with 297. All right, and on to pitching. We are 12th in ERA, 10th in strikeout to walk ratio, 54th in strikeouts per 9 innings, and 49th in fielding percentage. All right, so just looking at those numbers, we can tell that Tennessee's got a really good baseball team, a great offense, but we've got to get better on defense, especially in pitching. That's what baseball is all about. If you've got a great bullpen, if you've got a great staff out there, then you will be a very dominant baseball team. So can we find a way to increase the productivity of our fielding, but really more so of our pitching is going to determine how far we can go in that World Series. But I love where we're sitting at right now. I'm going to be watching this one very, very closely. Can the pitching continue to pick up for us over the next few weeks? And now on to the last segment of the day. We're going to be talking about what players have generated the most buzz in spring practice amongst the media members, okay? That's outside of this channel, and what players we feel like maybe us as fans and maybe the media should be talking about a little bit more. And we'll start off with Braylon Staley, who I feel like has been getting a whole lot of buzz, and rightfully so, from the media here early on. He's a player that we talked about a lot with his high school film and just kind of leading into this season. We love his game. We love his upside. He's a dog. That's what you want on the outside. And whenever I say outside, I don't just mean on the outside, but any wide receiver position, even playing in the slot. And it's huge that he can come in and spell a guy like Squirrel White, who we know is very, very dynamic at that position. And he's a dog as well. So he adds a whole lot of depth, and I love what I've been seeing from him so far. And the next player is going to be Boo Carter. There's been a whole lot of buzz around him from the time that he was in high school to now, but everyone loves him. And that's not just media members, but also players and coaches talking about him being a dynamic playmaker, making great plays out in the open field. And it sounds like he's physical. This sounds like he's ready to go. Now, on this channel, we thought that his upside was a lot higher on offense. I still feel that way, but he's showing that he can do it on defense as well. And we haven't seen him on special teams, but sounds like he's doing a great job there also. But I just feel like him, being able to play corner, star, safety, it really doesn't matter. That's huge for this team. And I do think that he's going to be a player that will see a whole lot of playing time this year for our Volunteers. And he's probably going to make a few big plays. How much will he have to play will probably depend a lot on, who ends up going down, like who ends up getting hurt, things like that. But sounds like he's going to be ready to rock and roll. So that's a really big deal. And the next player that's been getting a whole lot of buzz is another freshman in Mike Matthews at the wide receiver position. He's another one. He's been making a whole bunch of plays, and we already knew that, right? I mean, he's a 5-star coming out of high school. He played at Parkview High School, which I know very, very well. I mean, they tend to send a lot of players to Tennessee for whatever reason. Maybe it's because they're orange and white. They call their stadium the Big Orange Jungle. And it's just a whole lot of similarities, I think, in the programs. But yeah, I already knew that he was going to be phenomenal, and he has not let us down by any means. He's a player that we are anticipating will be able to get a significant amount of playing time as well. And again, with all these guys that I'm talking about that's been getting a whole bunch of media buzz, it's all been rightfully earned. I'm not trying to say that they're getting that buzz and they didn't deserve it, but Mike Matthews for sure. Where will he fit into, this roster, this depth chart, things like that? Is he going to be a slot guy? Is he going to be an outside guy? Is he going to be playing behind Brew, or is it going to be behind Dante Thornton? Is it behind Chris Brazel, or does he start? That's kind of yet to be determined. But again, in tonight's scrimmage, we'll be able to tell how close he is to being ready to play SEC football. But I love how much of a competitor all three of the players that I've just talked about are so far. And the next player is going to be Jamad McCoy, who's playing cornerback for us. He came from Oregon State. He's a transfer guy. Love him, okay? Love what he can bring to this team. I mean, just everything from top to bottom. He's got the length. He's got the, physical girth and size, things like that. And, I mean, he's physical at the point of contact, whether it's just, guarding wide receivers or slot guys. It does not matter. He's really, really good at that from the line of scrimmage, but he's also good at getting off blocks, and he's willing to make tackles. So I'm happy to hear that he's been getting a whole lot of buzz from everyone. And again, it's definitely rightfully earned. In my mind, he may be the best cornerback on this team. I definitely think that he's going to be starting for us, and he's going to make a whole lot of plays for us as well. Next up is Miles Kittleman. That is the transfer tight end from Alabama. And we talked a lot about him just kind of like leading up to spring practice. And, after watching his film, okay, you can tell that he's a very physical inline blocker, and he runs good routes. He's got good hands, but it sounds like he's getting a lot of buzz. I even heard Brent Hubbs come on and say maybe he can end up being a starter. I wouldn't take it that far, but I do think that he's going to get a good amount of playing time. And this is going to be by far the deepest that the tight end position group has been. I mean, this is going to sound crazy, but maybe ever at the University of Tennessee. We just have three guys, at least three guys that we know can come out and play. They can block, they can run routes, they can catch. And just having a bunch of veterans inside of that room, even though Ethan Davis, this is going to be his first year being able to actually go out there and play. I just think that adding guys like Holden Stays and Miles Kittleman to that group, it's turned into a pretty veteran-led group while also staying pretty young. So I love what the staff has done there. And I'm really looking forward to hearing a lot about Miles Kittleman after tonight's scrimmage. And the last guy that I feel like we've been hearing a whole lot of buzz around is obviously going to be Lance Hurd, coming in from LSU, plug and play, left tackle. He's a dog. He's got the length. He's got the size. He's got the speed. He's tough. He's physical. I love listening to him with Austin Price on that Vol Club Confidential. You can just tell he's kind of got like that old school mindset, almost like, like a throwback cowboy type of a guy. Just, doesn't have a whole lot to say necessarily. He's all about business. So that's what you want from your front seven players. And I'm very excited to continue to hear how he is progressing throughout spring. It sounds like James Pierce was kind of giving him some work, which is good. Okay. Iron sharpens iron. That's what you want to see. But I definitely feel like he's going to be ready. And, not this season, but after the next season, he's probably going to be a top 10 draft pick at the tackle position. He's got that type of an upside. All right, now on to the players that I feel like have not been getting enough buzz. We haven't heard enough about. I'm going to start off with Kobe Thomas. Okay, we loved him coming from MTSU. And yes, he has gotten some buzz. Okay, we do hear people talking about him, but I don't think enough, because what he's going to be bringing to our secondary, especially at the safety position, as a guy that is passionate about football. We always compare him to Eric Berry, and we're not saying that he's going to be Eric Berry, but he's that same, type of player as far as he's going to be around the football. He's going to know what the heck is going on, and he's going to play with that passion. So I think that he could end up being maybe the defensive MVP for this team this year. If you look at the way the football is set up now, I mean, linebackers used to be a really big deal. We already know about pass rushers, but whenever you have a safety, okay, that can rush the passer in some situations, he is going to be very heavy in that, run support game, but he's also going to be able to make plays on the back end. We're talking about all three phases of defense. He's going to be able to affect it, I believe, at a really, really high level. And I also feel like he's a leader. So I would love to hear some more buzz around him, but really this is more so for those who haven't really been paying very, very close attention, hanging on to every single word like we do on this channel with what the insiders and everyone else is saying about our football team. Keep the name Kobe Thomas inside of your mind and do not forget about him, because I do believe he's going to end up being one of the best players on this team. And the next player is going to be Joshua Josephs. We haven't heard a whole lot about him from the insiders or from the coaches, but I love what he did last season, and I love even more what I've seen from him so far in spring camp. It looks like he's gained some weight. He looks more explosive, and he's got those really, really long arms. He's a player that P and I loved coming out of high school. He can really get after that passer. And I think he's also going to be really good setting an edge, at the point of contact in run support as well at the Leo position. He's going to be the guy that comes in more than likely right after James Pierce. So can he continue to press that line of scrimmage, to close those holes, close those gaps on the edge? Can he get after that quarterback? I definitely think that he can. He's shown it so far. So the last player on defense is going to be Edwin Spillman. Now, he is a true freshman playing at linebacker, and that's a pretty deep room. Really, all these rooms are deep, but I love his upside because he comes in, he comes on campus looking like a college SEC caliber linebacker just physically. He's got really good size, and, we're hearing that, man, the coaches are having to tone him down. Hey, listen, take it back just a couple of notches because he is getting after people. He's hitting hard. And playing linebacker, that's what you love. That's what you need. We saw that a lot in his high school film. He's sideline to sideline. He looks good in pretty much every single facet of playing linebacker. And, you definitely love to hear that. Also sounds like he's been doing good just in the blitzing drills versus our running backs and versus our tight ends as well. So definitely a very physical player. You can tell that he plays with a whole lot of passion, a whole lot of upside. He's a really good athlete too. He looks good going through all the bag work and drills and things like that he's been doing. I want to hear more about him. I want to see more clips from him. We talked about it in yesterday's video that, man, he's holding stays up at the line of scrimmage. Okay, now that was kind of a stalemate, but for him to be a true freshman doing that is very, very impressive. And I think that his upside literally is just tremendous. I have him as a guy that is going to get some playing time this season. Okay, you can call it whatever you want to, but just in watching him play so far, I think that he should be thrown into that mix. We'll see. How much does Coach Inge want to play a young guy like him? If he can pick up that playbook, he's going to be out there. I think he's just as good as any of our top tier starters, just from an athletic perspective. And next is going to be his brother, Nate Spillman, who's playing wide receiver for us. A lot of people tend to forget about Nate Spillman, but he was really good coming out of high school. Okay, I mean, a technician in running routes. He's very sure-handed. He's a dog too. He will block out there on the perimeter. You can just tell that he's tough. He makes those tough catches. He kind of puts me in the mind of maybe like a Ramel Keaton, right? And not last year's Keaton, but 2022's Keaton, where he's going to, again, make those tough catches. And he's gained a whole lot of weight, okay? Like I saw him in some earlier clips of spring practice. He looks like he's gained 10 to 15 pounds. And I think that he has a good chance, from the outside looking in, no one's really talking about him, to get out there on the field this season. I just feel like with him being such a good young man, he's well-spoken. You can tell that he understands football coming from Lipscomb Academy. He's going to be very well versed in what to do and when to do it. And I think he's also going to be savvy. He's kind of got a little bit of that, veteran savviness to him as a young player, just a true sophomore coming in with the 2023 class. I think that he has a good chance and a good shot in a very deep wide receivers room to make it even deeper. And he could earn some playing time this season. And next, we're going to be talking about Dante Thornton, who has gotten a pretty decent amount of buzz, but I don't think people are talking enough about it. And some of that could be because of all the buzz that was surrounding him coming from Oregon last season as a transfer. I think that this year he's so dialed in. He looks and sounds and is just moving around so confidently. And I think that he's going to be a big-time playmaker for us. Everything that we expected from him last season, I think that we're going to get that this year and more. We always talk about him versus Chris Brazzell. Who's going to win that battle as far as the starter? We don't know, but the great thing is the wide receiver room is really deep because the last two players on this list are going to be wide receivers as well. So the next one's going to be Caleb Webb. We talked a whole lot about him yesterday and pretty much throughout all of spring practice on this channel, but I don't really hear any insiders or anyone else talking enough about him. He didn't have the best season last year, but where I kind of saw that he wasn't as comfortable and as confident last year, we're seeing him being very confident, very comfortable this year. Been one of the most consistent players that I've been seeing so far through spring camp. And I think he's going to have a really big breakout year. Please do not sleep on Caleb Webb. And the last guy is going to be Chaz Nimrod, who I could, pretty much throw into the same boat as Caleb Webb. I do feel like he was a little bit more consistent last year. If you look at our wide receiver group, okay, especially after Brew goes down, I feel like it was Squirrel White and it was Chaz Nimrod. Those were the ones that we felt like we could rely on the most. Those are the ones that we trusted the most. Chaz Nimrod has looked good in the few clips that I've seen of him, but nobody's talking about it. Very, very consistent. He was a stud. I believe he was a 4-star coming out of high school. And I mean, he's got the size, he's got the length, he's got the speed. He's tough. Okay. He's going to make those tough catches. And we've been seeing that so far throughout spring. But that's going to be it for this video. Thank y'all for sticking all the way to the end. We're very excited to hear the news and notes from the insiders and the coaches and everyone else surrounding our second scrimmage of spring practice. And we will have some coverage on that tomorrow. But as always, please make sure to like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, share with your friends, family, and all the volunteer fans. We'll see y'all in the next one. Thanks. Peace.